Time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace and former Ottawa Senator Jason York.
What are you doing? What are you doing here?
Well, it's not Brent Wallace. I mean, you introduced Brent Wallace, and you got a guy like me here. Yes, it is Lever Sage for Brent Wallace. Jason York, we are coming in very hot. How you doing?
Coming in crusty today with Lever Sage. I love it. I love it. You know, I've always been a big fan of yours. And no, this is good. This is a nice surprise. I heard last week you're going to be moonlighting on the show with me today because Wally is who the hell knows where Wally is? Where is you? I don't even know where he is. Where is he?
He's gallivanting. I'm not sure he wants people to know. I'm not at liberty to say for a guy like Brent Wallace, but that guy, wherever he goes, he's making somebody else crusty. I know that, right?
I think he's way more crustier than you are because this is your stick. You're actually a pretty good guy. You just
hold on. You know when people say that and they say the word actually, like what? What do you mean? No, I am a good guy, Yorkie. Okay. Holy cow! What a start.
Well, you know that it's funny that you know that you have to say that,
right? Well, and I was going to come in and tell you, first of all, like what I'm sure you talked about this yesterday, but what the hell are we doing here with a week between games of the Stanley Cup? Like honestly, like it's just the worst thing ever. And then second of all, I'm going to tell you how great the Edmonton Oilers and Cody Ceci are for most of the show before we bring on our guest who's coming in, which you kind of alluded to, the fact that you like a little pomp and circumstance. You like a little maybe people going back and forth, a little crustiness. So I thought, who better to bring on later in the show than the other half of the Bickertons, and going to reunite the Bickertons, Ian Mendes from The Athletic. Well, can't believe that guy's coming on.
There's only one man in the world that can take the nicest man in media and make him crusty and make him argumentative, and that is you, my friend. See, yeah, no, that was good radio back in the day when you and Mendes used to host the afternoon show. I'd always find myself driving in the car and listening to you just bicker back and forth. So I coined you guys the Bickertons, and then Bobby Big Voice, who used to do the radio, actually had an intro for you guys. Like, that was pretty good. You know, when the big voice comes on, it's the Bickertons.
I remember passing, I think when you did that and you put it up, and I was driving down the road, and one of these kind of private people who sell houses, like not the big companies, but the small companies, there was one called the Bickertons. I literally lost my breath, pulled over, reversed, took a picture of this little sign, said, we got to get a house sold by the Bickertons here. But you know what? Ian's coming on, and he's the one guy I always found, like, Ian's really good at, and he's kind of like you and Brent too, where he likes to deflect a little bit, and all of a sudden you start asking him personal questions, and he'll find a way to quickly get off of it and put it back on you. I'm not having any of that. Okay. No, I'm having none of that. And everyone kind of kowtows to Ian a little bit, and Brent as well, as like, we wouldn't want to push those guys too far. And it's like, I just want to know what you guys think. That's all. So when I push guys, it's only because I actually care about what they think, Yorkie. So I won't push you. I won't push you at all.
You listen to our show. You know who runs the show here.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do you like my shirt, Yorkie?
Not a Versage.
Sorry about your luck.
That's nice. Where'd you get that?
This was given to me by my uncle, who had a couple of shirts made up. He was going to an event, and he wanted to make his presence known in Florida at some event. So he's like, hey, one of these shirts, it'll come in handy one day. I don't even think I've ever worn it. I think I wore it one time when I was in Italy, looking like at my family heritage like
Nice.
in this small town in Italy, and it's the only time I've worn it. Except I thought, what an occasion today to be able to
great occasion
to wear this.
Well, I'll give you one guess where I'm going after this show's done. The way I'm dressed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if it's Canada Lakes, if it's like what course it actually is. It's probably
Royal Ottawa.
Sorry. There's only 3 or 4 for people who don't know. There's only about 3 or 4 like A+++ courses here in Ottawa. Like there's a million courses in Ottawa. It's a crazy town for.
Don't we have? I thought I read that for
the most
golf courses per capita, per space, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, in the country. And it's actually not how many courses are within like an hour of the Ottawa region. But there's only there's the Royal Ottawa, there's the Hunt Club, there's
Camelot's pretty
Camelot, Rideau View. There's 4 or 5, but I should have been picking in that realm for you.
Every golf course right now should be in great shape with all the rain we've had. And perfect weather. But yeah, I'm heading out golfing later. Got a big match.
Now, what do you play? How much do you play for? What's the side stuff around
usually when I play with my buddies, we play for food. So we usually play a partner game.
Yep.
We play 2 guys, and the losing team has to buy lunch. But we also play the game within the game. So when you play the Royal Ottawa, you after 9, you pass the halfway hut.
My favorite is you're relating to like nobody right now. When you play the Royal Ottawa, like we all play the Royal Ottawa.
Yeah, when you play. So when you finish 9 at most courses, you hit the little snack shop. So who's ever down in the match has to get the beers after 9. But then the beauty of Royal Ottawa is after 9, you hit it again after the 14th hole. So if you're still down by that time, you got to buy the beers again. And then after the 18, you have the final match, which is usually a press on 18 for the old fashioned on the cocktail on the patio round. So that's how it works. I don't, for money's kind of pointless to play for, but food and beers that leaves a mark. Because you brag about it, you savor it, and after the match, it's much easier. You'd like it, Lee. It's much easier.
Every sip is wow. This is unbelievable. How great how great is this? And you're right. Golf is fun when you play against yourself, but when you have something to play for, and it doesn't matter what it is, right? Like you're talking about, man, is it fun and competitive, and the competitive juices, I'm sure, run through you. All the time. Should we get to some of the stuff that's going on, or should we just chat for an hour?
No, people have the golf talk. Yeah, no, like you mentioned the long layoff. Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad the NHL we can't do it because football is just a one game. Because I think the NFL has such a great recipe for waiting 2 weeks and just building and building and building, and they make the Super Bowl into just it's an event. Like the game becomes secondary. It's all about, I remember being in Tampa and I was there on a Wednesday. I was doing a Sens game for Sportsnet, and there was already people rolling into the hotel for the big party for the Super Bowl. I know in hockey you can't do it because it's a 7-game series, but wouldn't it be something if you could make the NHL playoffs at a neutral site every year? Like, let's say, here's where the playoffs are going to be. Everybody comes into town, sets up shop, and you have to do it in a place where you can tailgate, because that's the one thing that sucks about Canada. You can't tailgate, like especially when the playoffs are when they are this time of year. But I just thinking about that, because I don't mind the break. I think we'll see better hockey because of it, because guys are pretty beat up right now, Lee. You look at what they've gone through, both teams, they could use a rest. I know we've been going every night. We've had hockey, and it's been awesome. But this break, I think, will lead to a better product. But it would be something if you could pick a site and then everybody goes to the site. I know it gets rid of home ice advantage and all that. But I just love how the NFL does that. And it's just, you can get your tickets like months and months and months in advance. And it just makes the game larger than life.
Well, you're on to the idea, but in hockey, obviously, it's very difficult. So take, for example, what we have coming up here in the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't know, and maybe people do, but the building availability in Florida, it is one of the busiest arenas in the world. And I don't know if everyone knows
Florida is really.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because they have so many different events, and it's so easy for people to go down there and have concerts and set up. That building is like, I want to say it's close to MSG as far as the availability of the. Yeah.
You think so?
I know, like back in the day, and I say this kind of before COVID, it was, Jason. It was right there, because if you think about it, you think about the arenas that people go down to. If you're going and setting up shop, you're always going to Florida if you're a big artist. And where are you going in South Florida to set up for an arena? I mean, there's where the Heat play, downtown Miami. But this arena in Sunrise allows people from Miami and Lauderdale and sort of all over the place to get to. And it's not like, people criticize it for not being downtown when it comes to kind of the big events. But I think when the one-off events, people actually like to go out. It's a pretty easy building to get in and out of. And it's a jam-packed rink. And so my point is scheduling, now that Florida's in the Stanley Cup Final, the scheduling for that arena would have been a little bit more difficult than, say, Edmonton. But I understand what you're saying. I hate the break. Like, I think I know what you're saying. We're going to get better hockey and guys need to rest, and you used to play in that. Like, I get it. But I don't ever recall, like, there's been years where the Super Bowl was played the next week. It hasn't always had the 2-week break. And I don't go back and go, oh, that game was terrible because they only had a week to get ready for.
Think about that, though. It does fall on a nice, because the game's going to start. It's a Saturday night start, right? So it's not really a full week. But just to my point earlier too, I don't like. Yeah, I'd like to be able to, that idea of having a neutral site, but it would take away from, if you're seeing what's going on in Edmonton right now and that big, whatever they call it, that mosh pit outside the rink, like, that is outstanding. And the fans and home ice advantage, if you score first, and if it is really beneficial in the playoffs. I can just tell you from my experience, when back in the day when I played in Ottawa and we first made the playoffs, it was a huge advantage having the home crowd. People always wonder this, Lee, does it help? Does it give you energy? 100% it does. If you're like late in a shift and the fans are going nuts, it just gives you that little bit extra of adrenaline when you come out to start the game. And you can see, I don't know if you remember the early days, Lee, when they had the woohoo towels here. Remember those?
So let me tell you a story, Jason, because you were playing when they first made the playoffs. You were there, correct?
Yep, correct.
And did you play in the series against New Jersey?
Yes. Oh, when we beat your Devils, they were first seed and we were 8th.
Yeah. So I had yet to move to Ottawa. Okay. Which actually, I have the craziest picture ever. That was foreshadowing my whole life, as I took a picture in 1998 when I came up to the games, and there's this picture of me and my buddy in a Devils flag with almost no cars there. We got there so early, but there was a car there that was the new RO, which was the television station that turned into CTV, and like, but was but it was the television station that was in the building that I ended up working in. So in this picture is me, the CTC, this new RO car, and me wrapped in a Devils flag going to a Sens game, knowing, okay, I'm now going to work here for the next 23 years of my life in the next year. But we came, me and my buddy, to games 3, 4, and 6 of that series in like the last row, wrapped in our Devils, and you guys won every game in Ottawa. And the Woohoo was one of the songs I hated the most in the world before
What a loser you must have felt like sitting up there, eh? All painted up in your Devils thing. First seed, and you get waxed by the lowly 8-seeded Senators.
I felt like such a loser, except for 95, 2000, 2003 when the Devils won the Cup, Yorkie. Other than those years, I felt like such a loser.
I wasn't there. I was just there when, oh my God.
But I was just a fan, and I totally remember that. And that Woohoo song sticks so badly.
All I can think of is you with like Putty's face on you from Seinfeld. When Putty puts on
Devils!
Oh boy.
Yeah, but that was my team since '88 when Sean Burke ended up going there. And now my boy Sheldon Keefe is coaching there. So
what? Are you a Sheldon Keefe guy?
No, not at all.
I still, Lee, I do understand it because teams are so nervous of hiring a new coach. Mm-hmm. Instead, they seem to want to get a guy that has some experience because he knows the league, he knows the teams, probably knows the Devils better than any other coach. So it's just you just have that experience. But the Keefe signing, that puzzles me. Like there's some great coaches available in the AHL. Some guys just chomping at the bit to get. Well, look at what's going on in Edmonton right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what they're doing. Like it just goes to show you don't need a coach that has NHL experience. Like you don't
need one, Jason. But I mean,
I don't understand it.
So the Sheldon Keefe one, I'm not a huge Sheldon Keefe fan.
He must be a great interviewer. Maybe Dubas must have taught him the trick of because Dubas, the contract he got in Pittsburgh is unbelievable. The two of them must be incredible interviewers.
Well, they must be, but I'll back them both. First of all, for Dubas, if Dubas was ever going to take that job, knowing that Pittsburgh was near the end of their run he was told to keep Crosby and Malkin and Letang because they're not going anywhere, then he probably said to them, okay, I'll do that and I'll respect all of that, but we're not going to be very good. And we're going to have to do a full turnover in 3 years or in 4 years. And I want 3 years after that to put my stamp on it. And that's why he got 7. So I get it.
I'm just looking. It's almost like Pittsburgh, New Jersey, they're not paying attention to how the game's being played right now. And what I mean by that is there was such an analytical drive to be a puck possession team. If you watch the Leafs play under Keefe and under Dubas, they refused to chip pucks. They refused to play to manage the game. It was always based on our stats. We have to carry the puck in the zone. They get to the playoffs. And I remember all those years when they would lose, I'm like, these guys turn the puck over at the worst parts of and times of games, and they just beat themselves all the time. And why do they keep doing that? Mm-hmm. And then it's to me, it's basically because they are wanting to play a possession game all the time. Mind you, they changed it a little bit this year under Keefe. They started playing a little dirtier, a little harder, but they were so soft in those other years. And just now the game, if you're paying attention, which most people that are watching the playoffs, the game is so much harder, it's so much tougher, it's so much meaner. Like even watching Edmonton that last game, they had to gut that win out, Lee. It's in the trenches now. Like in these playoffs, like it is a dirty, mean game right now. And it scratches my head when I'm just watching what Edmonton's doing with their coach right now, and the Keefe signing just puzzled me. It really did.
Well, and you're looking at the stats now. What would scare me for the Florida Panthers is that Edmonton can usually only win one way, and especially in Game 6, boy did they win another way, right? Like their
goalie played really well.
Well, and even when they interviewed McDavid at the end of the game, you'd think he'd be happy. He's going to the Stanley Cup final, and he was kind of mad about the way they played in the last 40 minutes, right? Like they were embarrassing. But what they did do was they held, and they didn't allow that next one. And for the Edmonton Oilers, they've never been able to do that before. So winning a game to put them in the Stanley Cup, which was almost opposite of everything that they do well, would scare me if I'm Florida. And look, I'm not going to Barry Horowitz and pat myself on the back too much, but I was with the host of this show when we were talking at the beginning of the playoffs, and I picked Edmonton to go to the finals. And
you and I both. You and I both.
And he laughed at me. He scorned me across the table. He tried to make me look bad in front of other people at the bar. It doesn't sound like Brent at all, does it?
Who had your back? Who had your back? Who had your back?
Not a lot of people.
I did. I had Edmonton. I had Edmonton.
Yeah, but at that table, I'm just saying, we were with it was me, Brent, Ian was there, but there was some other fans. There's probably 12 people. They were killing me. And I was like, no, I'm telling you.
I got to, you watch next week when we go over our picks, because Wally had Dallas and I picked Edmonton, and Wally also had the Rangers. So big 0-for-2 with those predictions. But in saying that, the Dallas Edmonton series could have went either way. But this is my big takeaway, and we'll talk about this a little bit with Ian. Get some of his thoughts. Edmonton's, have you looked at the size of Edmonton's D? How big they are?
Well, I've looked how big Desharnais is, and I'm glad he's out of the lineup because they're better.
Okay,
him out of the lineup.
How tall do you think Matthias Ekholm is?
Yeah, he's a big. You know when I noticed how big of a guy he was?
How tall? How tall do you think he is?
6'3"?
He's 6'5".
Is he really? Wow.
See, Ekholm is 6'5". The kid you just mentioned, Desharnais, there, he's 6'7". Darnell Nurse is 6'4". Cody Ceci's a big guy. Cody's 6'2".
Yeah.
Their smallest guy back there is Kulak, who's around 6'1", and who's probably been their worst D. But the trend in the NHL now, and we had Luke Richardson on last week, and Luke said this. He echoed the same statements. You need big, long D that can move, because there's no space, and you put big men out there that can move. And it's not like the old days when you had guys that were just big trees and cross-check couldn't skate. Like, you got to be able to skate. Like, you watch Nurse, he can skate. Ekholm, he can skate. Even the Desharnais, he can skate. So you watch what happens this summer with free agency and teams it's a copycat league. You need big D, and I'll guarantee you Ottawa is going to address that.
Well, I was just going to say how Ottawa does not look like that, right? Like, you look at their defense and they simply don't look like that whatsoever.
Who's the biggest guy on Ottawa's blue line is probably Chychrun. Hamonic's about 6'2". Who knows what Hamonic's future is going to be, but as a group, it's a very undersized group. Like, there's nobody out there that takes up a lot of space.
Have you I don't know how much you've talked about this. How much of that group that we see in front of us do you think are going to be back?
Sanderson, Zub, Shabbat, Clevin.
Right. So Brandstrom,
maybe Docker. Brandstrom's. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Brandstrom's gone. I think Chychrun's gone. I think Hamonic's gone, and I think Chychrun's gone for a variety of different reasons. I just think his camp realizes if he's going to get paid, it's going to be somewhere else. There's too much of the same thing here. In left shot, puck moving D, and it's just not a fit. It's not a fit.
And look, I like the person, and I like his dad.
Great person, great family, and very great power. He's a great power play guy. He's got one of the best one-timers in the NHL for defensemen. One of the best. But
Jason, to your point, to what you were talking about, he's probably their biggest guy, and whether he's the tallest, I'm not sure, but he's certainly, even from a vanity point of view, the guy's a chiseled, right?
Oh my God.
He's probably for how big and strong that guy is, he might be the softest guy on the team, which I can't believe he doesn't use his strength in his body the way that he does. I don't understand when he plays why he doesn't do that, and especially because Ottawa doesn't have a lot of that. The other guy on that list, man, I don't know about Shabbat.
I don't think he's going. I think he's. You don't want to get rid of all your talented guys. You gotta surround them with better pieces, and that's been to me the biggest common denominator with Thomas Shabbat. His best season ever is when he was paired with Dylan Danilo. And one of the other faults with Ottawa's D is it's always a revolving door of partners.
Right.
Having played in the league, it to me, it's really important that you get a relationship with your D partner and you learn how to play with one another, how to feed off one another. It's you end up almost knowing your partner's thoughts because you've got so much history together. And it's not always possible with injuries. Just look, if you want to look who the best pairing was over time last season is when Sanderson and Zub were healthy. They kept them together for a stretch of time, and then you get chemistry, and you know where each other is, you know where you like your passes, you know when a guy's going to pinch. You just get better and better. Why do you think lines always work? Sometimes it's twosomes, but certain guys you get a familiarity with one another, and that familiarity turns into confidence. That confidence turns into better play, and that better play turns into your team winning more often. And it's to me, I've always been shocked how much Ottawa would change over the last 5 years. It's just always a revolving door of partners. So that's what happens when you lose. When you lose, nobody's happy, so you keep changing everything. When you keep changing everything, it makes things worse. So
right, and to your point, I mean, you look back in time, even in Ottawa, right? Like with Philip Kuba and
Carlson,
and yeah, exactly. Like who was
Mathot Carlson, Redden, Volchenkov and Phillips. That was your shutdown pair. They played together. They knew their games. They knew they knew their strengths. And as a coach, you look back and you have a pair you can go out and put and trust. It's huge. Ottawa just haven't had that in such a long time. And look at the playoffs right now. It's the same thing. Like you look at some of these teams, the pairings they can throw out there. But it is, just to go back, when you look at it, a lot of people aren't talking about it because everyone's talking about McDavid, and rightfully so, and Draisaitl. Mm-hmm. Nobody's talking about Edmonton's D. And even the amount of shots they gave up last game against Dallas, there was very few secondary opportunities. They clear the front of the net and box out better than any Oiler team in a long, long time. Like they've done a great job at that.
And that's saying a lot, right? For this defense that was like criticized, of course, Skinner, not playing very well at the beginning and having to come back. But, since they changed the coach and really since November, December, this has been the best team in the National Hockey League, and it's not close. And
hands
you look at, and I know the numbers were up there before on the series, like their power play and penalty kill in this playoff has been like astronomical. Look, I mean, Dallas didn't get a power play goal, and the Oilers are hitting at 36%. I wonder who's going to win the series. Like, look at the PK numbers. I mean, if you just showed those numbers and go, who won the series? Pretty easy to tell with nothing else given. And if that continues, wow.
Yeah. Do you remember Perry? You remember Perry Pern, longtime assistant coach.
Yeah.
So Perry he was notorious for having the longest pregame meetings. We'd actually put a timer on it, like a timer you do when you're cooking, to see how long he would go. And Perry had this old saying that whoever wins the special teams game usually wins the game. And he actually had it broken down by percentages, and it was something like 86% of the time you win the special teams game, you win the game. And it wasn't even close in that series. That was the difference. Special teams, and Skinner played really well too. So, hey, what time we got Mendes at?
Should be coming up in about 5 or 7 minutes. Somewhere there.
We got some business.
I want to talk about this one first. The show proudly presented by Betway. You can bet your way with Betway. You must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Sign up now at betway.ca. Betway's the official sports betting partner of the National Hockey League, and we'll be back later in the show with the lock of the day. And you know how much I like my locks of the day. I'm always looking for the little advantage, and Betway is a great place to be able to do that, Yorkie. And man, I always look for that one or two things going into a series that I think, okay, they don't have this right. And I only need one or two things to lock on to. So I got one coming up later on in the show.
Yeah. Do you know what everyone keeps saying? And I love how Florida plays. Like they're hard. They've got They've got like you got Bennett, you got Kachuk, you got Barkov, who's the best two-way player in the game right now. They basically bullied the New York Rangers. So everyone's saying, well, they shut down Zibanejad and they shut down Panarin and they shut down every in the Carolina series. You know what though? That there's a huge difference between McDavid and Panarin. There's a huge difference between Leon Draisaitl and DJ Ziban. It's not even close.
DJ Ziban.
He is like, come on, like that series to me. As soon as Sam Bennett bullied DJ Ziban off the puck, it was over, and scored that empty net goal. I'm like, they're done. They're done. That was like a shot across the bow to the New York Rangers that was saying, sorry, boys, we're basically stuffing DJ Ziban in the locker and we're stealing his lunch money. That's what went on that play. And it's just, it was over. Like it was Sam Bennett is, my God, if you want a prototypical, he's not a support player, but playoff, grindy, mean, hard, plays the right way guy. I don't know if there's much guys higher on my list that I would want ahead of Sam Bennett.
But Sam Bennett is in the perfect scenario right now because those guys that you talk about, Yorkie, are on good teams where they have really talented guys around them. Look great. But when they're on teams that aren't that good, they're problems. They're taking bad penalties at bad times. People criticize those same guys. Like if you put that guy on Ottawa right now, you're like, okay, they're a little bit better of a team because he's there. But if he's doing the same things and taking bad, people are criticizing that guy. But when you're on really good teams, that support looks so much better.
Well, really good teams have really good coaches and they have really good pieces and they create a culture. You hear this all the time. What's our identity? What's the culture? That's what Florida did. That's what Paul Maurice did. Florida wasn't a great team a couple of years ago. They squeaked into the playoffs. They obviously, honestly should have missed. They just got in, but they just have the right mix. They got the right mix of guys, goaltending, defense. Zito's made a ton of smart moves there, probably more than any other GM. The little moves in the Bennett one he made right there, and the big moves have been great. Bringing in Matthew Tkachuk, like everybody wondered about that trade, but my goodness, he didn't roll the dice. But you make a deal of that size, Lee, and to win it that overwhelmingly, pretty good. But anyhow, another ad read here. We got to do some more business, Lee.
Yeah.
Got to thank our good friends here, the Enright family, BEI, Bonisher Excavating Incorporated. If you're looking, Lee, to spruce up and get some curb appeal on that house, BEI can help with your driveway, paving, aggregate, topsoil sales, plus BEI also does equipment rentals. Give them a call for your landscape needs, 613-432-1120. Visit BonisherExcavating.com. BEI, helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. And remember, slow down in construction zones. I actually got to give a shout out to Mark Enright. Lee, I'm actually we're actually building a house right now. And I talked to BEI, and BEI, they weren't able to fit me in. They hooked me up with one of the best guys in the business. Look at this guy right here. You know who that is in the excavator?
Tell us.
That is the toughest Neil in the Neil family. That is Dan Neil. What an absolute beauty. Big Dan's got his own excavating company, and he came and did all the demo, dug the hole for us. My God. Hey, Lee, my neighbor came over and said, that guy in the excavator, he never stops. The guy just works all day long. But,
were they saying that in a good way or a bad way?
A great way. But there's a reason Chris is so tough, because Dan, his older brother, made him that way. You know how the relationship with older brothers are?
Yeah. But, when you got your name on the side of that like Dan does, you got to be pretty tough. I was thinking Chris isn't going to be happy with this, but maybe Chris knows. Yeah, I'm not the toughest Neil in the family.
Just a lot, probably a ton of battles growing up. Your brothers. Do you have older brothers, Lee?
Younger brother.
Okay, so you were
and then a stepbrother the exact same age, but we either got along really well because we grew up together. We either got along really well or didn't get along and might have gotten to some of the things that you're talking about. I can tell you.
Back. So nowadays they call it bullying when your older brothers would beat you up. Back then it was called character building.
Right.
Where your brother and your brothers would come over. My older brother Jeff. He'd pin me down, arms behind my head. They'd lift up your shirt. Remember the old pink belly? Just start hammering your belly until
we always knew that you weren't the toughest York brother in the family. I can tell you that. Before our next guest comes on, I know that he's a big fan. Frozen pucks are awesome when they're in the back of the other guy's net, but that doesn't mean you'd want to eat one. That's why Wendy's only ever uses fresh Canadian beef that never has seen the inside of a freezer. In all of their burgers, whether you order a Baconator, a Dave Single, or even a JBC, you'll only ever find real fresh beef that's real juicy and loaded with fresh toppings. So download the Wendy's app, check out the latest deals, and order a burger that's only job is being delicious. I would like that, my only job, to be something like that. This guy is coming on that he's got like 100 jobs. I think he's back from traffic and all the parental duties that he's had, but I think he'll be on here soon. Oh, there he is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Let's look at these two. We were joking around, Ian, while you were doing. You had the pickup or drop off. You had drop off today. School drop off.
Oh man, it was over an hour in the car this morning.
Where's school? Where are you dropping off?
Our youngest goes to Canterbury out in the east end of the city. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Tuesdays, am I right, Ian? Tuesdays.
Lee.
I always tell him, Yorkie, that Tuesdays, worst day of the week. Like no one's in a good mood. Everyone's going back to work. Okay. Like the government's back in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday here in Ottawa. Everything, like no one's in a good mood because bosses, they're over the Monday hangover, but the end of the week's way too far in the distance. Nothing good about Tuesdays. He texted me earlier, you'd never believe this traffic. I just said Tuesdays.
Well, this is good. This is good, Mendes, because I've been queuing this up. Now we're gonna have you ornery, we're gonna have you cranky. Because exactly. We've reunited the magic of the Bickertons. You guys are back.
Yeah. The Bickertons, as you called us back in the day on 1200.
Oh, it was so good. So good.
See, my only thought to that, Ian, Yorkie used to tell, go after him, like get him going. Because I always used to say that I was the only guy that could make you ornery, and I was like, thank you. I'm not sure that that's a compliment, but maybe it is. But I always did it. I told Yorkie this. I always did it because you're really good, and don't take this completely the wrong way. You're very good at sort of deflecting and getting like your job to make other people talk, and you want their opinions. But sometimes we want to know Ian Mendes' opinion.
That's why.
And you kind of deflect and go this way and that way, and you don't really always give it. And sometimes I'm on you because I just want your freaking opinion.
But usually my job is more so being the host, right? Guiding the conversation, steering the conversation. And so I'm happy to give my opinion. I don't have to be needled to give my opinion.
A good opinion, maybe.
Yeah.
Are you saying is Lee now? Is he a needler? Is that what we call him? Lee's like a needler, just a Weasley needler, just gonna keep picking at you.
Yeah, I just never had the opportunity. I worked whatever it was, 5 years or whatever with Simmer, and I loved it. But I never had an opportunity to give my opinion. Like, but I loved it.
I think we all get that, but you're right. Simmer likes to give his opinion, and he's got great opinions, which is good. And you kind of fed him, and that was your job. But when I was with you, it was like, okay, well, nobody really wants to hear my opinion as much as Simmer's, so like I better get Ian's opinion on a lot of things. So we kind of went back and forth a little bit more. Just a different dynamic, and that's the whole beauty of this thing, right? Is that when people come on, you have different dynamics with different people. And I think, it's like how great a relationship that Cody Ceci, Ian, has with all the people that he plays with on defense for the Oilers. He just succeeds, right?
You are the biggest Cody Ceci truther. In fact, I don't know why Cody doesn't get you to negotiate his contracts. I mean, he's done very well for himself, but I feel like you could squeeze an extra $500,000 per year
Right?
for Cody.
When and we have the big group chat with everyone, and when I saw that Chris Knobloch put number 5 on the ice to defend a 1-goal lead with a chance and a berth in the Stanley Cup final, I'm like, argument over. That's it. There's no other argument here. He wanted Cody Ceci on the ice in the last minute to protect a Stanley Cup berth.
Cody's played great. If you watch what he does, and he doesn't get any credit. You know, I'll tell you one of the things, Lee, he does probably is one of his best skills. When you go back for a puck and you got no play and you just kind of keep it. They call it eating the puck. He does that as good as anyone. And people say, oh, well, that's not really, yeah, it is a skill because you got to take the hit, not give the puck away, and make sure the puck just stays in that area until your centerman comes back and helps you out. Cody has mastered that little play. It's just the stall play, but he's underappreciated here. Just tough. You play on any team when you're continually in your own zone defending all the time and you're a defensive defenseman, you're not going to look very good. He's in the perfect fit. Obviously, the coach, Paul Coffey's done wonders for that defense group, Ian. Just the confidence he's instilled in those guys. And I played with Koff as his partner in Detroit. And I remember how he used to speak to me. He was just so calming. He'd say, kid, what are you doing? Come on. Don't go up the boards. Make a play. Just give me the puck. Give me the puck. And I'd look over. Coffey would be skating backwards, banging his stick, yelling at me to pass the puck. Remember the old PMP Sherwood? It was just staring right across the ice at me. But his job, fellas, he's done with that defense has been it's been unbelievable.
But isn't it kind of funny though, guys, that like if you think of Paul Coffey at the height of his powers in the 80s, defense was not exactly it wasn't his forte, right? Like you wouldn't think of him as the guy to be the I'm gonna instill defensive habits in everybody, but clearly he's had a huge impact there. And Yorkie, you played with him.
Yeah.
Was Coffey the guy who used to wear skates that were like 2 sizes too small?
I'll tell you a funny story. He used to rummage around in the dressing room and look to wear other guys' skates too. He'd go underneath their stalls and he'd pick a guy's pair. Oh, look at these skates. I'm going to try these out. And he'd pull whoever, Konstantinov's. He took Konstantinov or one of those guys. And he'd go sharp and he'd sharpen his own skates. And he'd put them on and he'd wear them for practice. He's I think I might wear these next game. And he wanted them tight. And he had to do his own skates. And he was so finicky, they didn't want anybody else doing them. But the other thing that amazed me, he didn't give a shit about his stick. He had the wood stick, the PMP, and the trainer would tape it for him. He's like, here, kid, go tape my stick for me. Did not care. It was just about the skates. And but you know what, the one thing that I'm sure he's doing, Ian, that it's not really about defending. It's about making plays. And Dave Lewis was the long-term defense coach in Detroit. He had the same philosophy. Because when Louis came to Boston, he was my head coach, and he used to take us down and do drills, and he'd say, guys, when you have the puck on your stick, why do you want to rim it around the boards and give it to the other team? We've worked so hard to get to the puck. Make a friggin' play. And that's what Coffey does. If you've heard on the broadcast, he's pulled these guys to make plays, because if you just give it back all the time, other teams are so good at countering now. But that's part of why they're playing better defensively, is because their defense are making cleaner, better exits on their breakouts. Like you watch their D. How many times is Darnell Nurse flying up the left side and they're going D to wing to far D? They do it all the time.
A little easier to do, Ian, when you can skate like Coffey and take 2 strides and you're out of your zone.
Yeah,
right? It's like
100%.
Carlson, like make a play. Well, okay, I'll take a stride and I'll be at full speed and I'll make a play, but not everyone obviously can do that. I did want to ask you, Ian, one of the things that you continually brought up years ago that's always stuck with me, and it's one of the reasons why I thought Edmonton was going to go to the finals. I think Edmonton's going to win the Stanley Cup, is because Connor McDavid is going to go down as, and Leon Draisaitl too, but he's going to go down as a top 5, top 10 player to maybe ever play the game. And I always remember you saying, when guys are in their prime, you look at when they were at their very best and winning cups. And you go back to the Gretzkys and Lemieux and, even Crosby's and, how long it took them to get to where they wanted to be and where they were actually at their peak. And I feel like we're at sort of the end right now of McDavid's, like the best he's ever going to be. And he'll still be unbelievable for him. And he'll probably still be better than most of the league. But for his ceiling, he's probably reaching that, I would say, about now. And it's just one of the reasons I don't think he's going to be denied. He is dragging that group along. But it's always a point that you made about when the greatest players to ever play their game, you look at when they were at their best, and they were a lot younger than people think.
Yeah, like Lemieux and Gretzky, their best years were when they were like 22, 23, not when they're 27, 28, 29. Crosby's a bit of an outlier. Like I thought when they won that cup in 2009, I would have bet my life that they would win another one in the next 3 years. He was that good. But then he had the concussions and stuff. And then I thought the window had closed on Pittsburgh, really, to be honest with you. By 14, 15, I was like, these guys are cooked. But they came back. They won in 16 and 17. But Crosby's a bit of an outlier. But yeah, this is, to me, McDavid. Like, I think this is great for the game. Like, I really do. I think you want your best, brightest stars on the biggest stage. And it's a travesty that McDavid hasn't gotten there before. Like he should have been there at some point. And so I think this is going to be great for the game. I'm hoping, I know that the entire series, I believe, is on ESPN. I'm hoping it puts McDavid on the map because he's going to go down, I think, at the end of his career, and he's going to need a cup to do this. I think he's a Mount Rushmore guy for me. And whoever most people's Rushmore is some order of Lemieux, Gretzky, and then pick your fourth guy, Sid, Gordie Howe, whatever. I think Connor McDavid will end up on the Mount Rushmore. I really do. He's doing, guys, he could end up with 40 points in the playoffs this year. He's got 31. The only other two guys to get it, Lemieux and Gretzky. Like we should sit back and enjoy this because this is one of the great runs from a start, and Draisaitl too. But this is really, to me, remarkable what Connor's doing here.
What if they? I think Edmonton's going to win too. But what if they lose and he doesn't get his Stanley Cup?
Well, I mean, really, you go through and you look at the top 10 all time in points in the NHL. Everybody's got a cup except Marcel Dion. I think that's how it works. And so, look, Gretzky lost in his first trip to the Cup to the Islanders. Sid lost in his first trip to the Cup with the Penguins against Detroit. Funny thing is, both those guys came back the next year and beat the team that beat them. I don't know what happens, to be honest. Like, I don't think we'll look like he needs a cup. He needs a cup.
He does.
Like,
I agree.
To cement his GOAT status, he needs a cup. And sometimes it's a little bit unfair. It's almost like the quarterback argument in the NFL. Like Dan Marino is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Is it his fault they never won a Super Bowl?
Barry Sanders too, right? Like
Barry Sanders, exactly. Yeah. Like they're the greatest of all time. And so, but the problem is no one 10 years from now, like you think of those San Jose teams. Is anybody saying, you know what, boy, Joe Thornton, you got to a cup. Well, way to go. You didn't win. You didn't win.
Way to go, Joe.
He's going to need one to cement the legacy.
But when you guys think about Edmonton, I know they're the best team in the Western Conference right now because they're going to the Stanley Cup. But I don't see a team that's going to be way better than them next year. Especially, I think if Edmonton learns from what they've done here and can slightly improve some of the faults that they do have, I think this team's going to be good here for the next couple years.
Yeah. Ian, it's so tough. There's so much parity in the league. So much has to go right to get to where Edmonton is right now. They've been relatively healthy. They got, who knew with the goaltending? The goaltending's finally playing well. But just back to something earlier we were talking about, guys, and we talked about, is it fair? I'll say this about McDavid's game. He's changed how he plays. Early on in his career, when they didn't get past those rounds, he cheated the game. He did a lot of circling in his own zone. He was always trying to pick up speed and get an edge offensively. He's not doing that anymore. You watch what Knobloch's done to him, how low he comes in the D zone now to help out his defenseman. He didn't do that before. and he's just it's the old saying, will beat skill when skill doesn't play as hard as it should. Now McDavid is playing really, really hard. And same with Leon. Like, guys, how good is Draisaitl playing right now? The will that he's playing with, and that will is infectious. That's why Edmonton's winning now versus years past. They took shortcuts. And you heard Leon after the game. He goes, "We've learned lessons over the years of what it takes to win." And I think guys now, they just come into the league so uber talented. They've had so much success. They don't change their games right away because they think they can get away with junior stuff. And it takes them a while. And I think this coaching staff, and McDavid was good last year too. I just think he's made some changes in his game, and they're paying huge dividends. And it's and then that what he's doing, Ian and Lee, that then rubs off on the rest of your team. Because holy shit, McDavid blocks and shots now. Leon's finishing hits. We better all do it. And that's how you win when your top guys play as hard as a fourth line guy does. When he'll put his face in front of a puck to block it. That's how it's the old story of when Edmonton walked down and they saw the Islanders, all the ice bags, and they saw after they won, and they shit, we're not playing hard enough.
Yeah, I was thinking that story too, but I'm like, that was the Islanders' fourth cup.
They're a little tired, yeah.
I'd like to see what was the room like after the first cup. They were partying, man. They were partying.
Right, maybe a little different, eh? Maybe a little different.
That was like, we've won 19 playoff series in a row. I just think I need to breathe.
Yeah.
But
well said.
I wonder, and look, there's a real copper bust feel to the Oilers right now, and I'm not suggesting that this is like some sort of Chicago Bulls last dance situation, but Draisaitl's got 1 year left on his deal. McDavid's got 2, and this ain't forever. This is, they have a finite window of time with 2 of the best players on the planet on their team. Absolutely this year, absolutely next year. Beyond that, there's no guarantee. So
does it change if they win the cup?
So you can make 2 arguments on that, right? If they get the cup this year, maybe Draisaitl's like, I did what I had to do. I'm gonna go chase the money. Right? Like, I did it. I delivered a cup to Edmonton. Mm-hmm. What else you want from me? I'm leaving. But the counter argument is, we won it. Let's keep the band together. Let's like, I can see both sides of it. All I'm saying is, Leon Draisaitl's on arguably the best contract in the league. Like, remember when he signed that, everybody was like, Pete Chiarelli, what are you doing? You're giving a guy $8.5 million for 8 years who's done nothing. He is outperform that contract to the point where he should be a $13 million player. He should be.
Oh, yeah.
So if 100%. He wants to go get paid and secure the bag, I'm not going to complain. But if he's delivered the cup, I think it makes the exit easier, doesn't it?
I think so too. But if he leaves, then what does McDavid do? Because McDavid's not going to be nearly what he can be without Draisaitl, right? So I wonder what McDavid's mindset would be if Leon leaves.
Yeah, I like how we're talking about. I like how we're talking about. They haven't even won the cup yet. We're talking about them all leaving.
But I think it's a worthwhile conversation with those years in the contract, because we're talking about the best players in the game. And what the Edmonton market be okay with those guys leaving if they win the cup? Like, it's such a historic legacy.
Would you be okay if you're a fan and Leon left? I wouldn't. I'd be pissed.
Yeah, but
we got a cop.
But what are you going to do? You're going to pay him and McDavid like a third of all of your cap and then not be any good?
I know.
You know what? I'm a big believer in that. In the flags, championships fly forever, and it's like the Raptors with Kawhi.
Yeah.
Okay, you walked out the door and there was some anger, but what did he do? He delivered you a championship. Yeah. You're going to have those memories forever. The good outweighs the bad, in my opinion. And so I think, look, the Oilers are a team that hasn't won a Stanley Cup in 34 years. And when you roll into Edmonton, and I know, Yorkie, you've been there, it still says City of Champions when you come out of the airport. 34 years. Lee would be able to tell us how many Grey Cups have the Eskimos won. I don't even know in the last 20 years.
Yeah, not that many. I actually don't know. I should know the number offhand, Ian, but I don't. But to your point, it's when you do this and you win, it's different to me. Like, I know what you're talking about, but those guys like Kawhi delivered a championship. I'm a big Raptors guy. I'm going to remember that run forever, and I don't really care that they haven't been any good since. I hope they're good soon, but I know what you're saying. But he wasn't like a forever Raptor. He wasn't our guy. Yeah, he came in. It was awesome. He delivered a championship. But for Edmonton, man, McDavid and Draisaitl, those are their guys. And if they leave, the best players in the game, and they leave, it's Gretzky leaving in '88 all over again. Like,
but they've delivered a title, right? Like,
I know
if they've delivered a title, I'm not saying they'll be okay with it. I'm just saying it softens the blow a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, get a new city of champion, like refurbish the sign, make it nicer. The old city of champion. It's freshen it up. People will be so happy.
QR code. That's what you should do. It's 2024.
I know Yorkie's got to go soon. Yorkie's got to go soon here, Ian. So what are you writing about in The Athletic? What's going on in the next little bit? You know how much I love asking you. Like, you got short-term things, you got long-term things. You always got things going on.
Yeah, but I can't give away all the secrets.
All of them. No one's asking for all. We're not asking for you to read your article. We're just asking for like the bullet points of what's coming up.
Okay. Well, I've got a piece coming out later today. People aren't going to like this because I've been spending my time kind of covering Utah a little bit as a side hustle. So I've got a little bit of an update on Utah's season ticket numbers. That's coming out today. I've got something on PWHL Ottawa, actually, and how I guess I got the ticket beat going now because I got something about how they were able to become the number one ticket selling team in the PWHL in their first season. I got a second half of a mailbag. I got a fingers crossed, I'm going to have a really good Sens-related interview this afternoon, but I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to say who it's going to be with, but it'd be pretty good.
How much, before we go, I want to ask you guys, how much are you worried about if Matthew Tkachuk goes on and wins the Cup this time and look at what he's done in Florida, how much is the name of Brady Tkachuk going to come up during these Stanley Cup finals with success of Matthew again? Any at all?
What do you think,
Yorkie?
Both deflecting to each other. Okay.
I think you've got, the thing is, this time of year, you've got a lot of unhappy fan bases because everyone wants to get to the finals. So everyone's looking, and you know how it works. People are making up shit, and we'd love to have Brady Tkachuk on our team. To me, it's a lot of white noise happening in other markets. I personally think the Senators have zero inclination to wanting to trade Brady Tkachuk. I think it's all being manufactured by outside sources. I don't see it. I don't see it being a storyline on any of the major networks. I think you'll continue to see it behind the scenes on X and then little chats because that's what people do this time of year. Hey, would you love to have Brady? Sure, I'd love to have Brady Tkachuk on my team. Who wouldn't if you're in another market? If you're watching the playoffs, how hard, how nasty, and you're a team that's not there, who do you think you want on your team? It's just, come on. The rumors are stupid, though. They're stupid.
I'll say this because I know Yorkie's dressed for golf. He's probably got a 10-10.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I will say this. Maybe you want that as an Ottawa fan because then what's Brady going to do in the summer? He's going to be asking his brother, what do you do? What the insides of how you win a Stanley Cup? And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's going to fuel the kind of hunger for Brady to build this up in Ottawa. And they need a tone setter. In Ottawa, in Florida, Alex Barkov sets the tone.
Yep.
The way he plays the game sets the tone. That's all they need. They just need that type of mentality. I think Brady sets the tone, to be honest with you. With a lot of the things he does, he sets the tone. But you're asking me why Florida is successful? It starts with the captain. It's Barkov.
Did you see Zito was on the Jeff Merrick show the other day? I don't know if you guys watched it. And he was talking about Barkov, the type of person he is, how he brings out the best in everybody around him. It was really interesting. It was a really interesting interview because Barkov's a pretty humble guy, but he's got this way about him of making his team be confident, but still like a little bit cocky because you got Matthew Tkachuk there, but they're very sure of themselves. And that starts with Barkov.
Well, it's amazing that you can be like that when you're one of the best players in the game. Like, as you said, might be the best 200-foot guy in the league. Like he is so good. And when you're that good, you can then go to other guys, right? And you don't have to be yelling and screaming at them because you're playing the right way.
It's Bergeron, it's Kopitar, it's Taves.
Yeah.
Same playbook.
What you do as a player is far more important than what you say when you're the captain. And I learned that from watching Steve Yzerman in Detroit. He didn't say a lot, but you watched him play, you had to follow.
And that's where I think Brady's close, but he's not quite there yet. And I hope he gets there, because that if he gets to that point, then he doesn't really have to say all that much at all. And the other guys, like, I know they follow him already, but I feel like the way that you described McDavid, this isn't a bad thing. You talk about the great players, Jason, and you're nitpicking, but when I watch Brady, I still feel like, okay, he's cheating a little bit, or he's not necessarily like he's hanging out by the red line sometimes. He's not doing, and even McDavid did that early in his career. If Brady can just get that part of his game, I think he's going to evolve into what we're talking about.
The thing is, wingers can get away with flying the zone. A lot of teams will send that stretch guy a lot. It's your center can never cheat. That's if you watch good teams, their centers don't cheat. You watch Barkov, never cheats. And that's the difference we talked about with McDavid. He's not cheating anymore. And that's why they're winning.
Yorkie, I appreciate you having me. And Ian, we thank you for coming on the program. You were coming in hot. You didn't even say anything about the shirt either. Not a Versage. Sorry about your luck. I can't believe you didn't mention that.
We had a big talk about it before we got on the show.
Yeah,
we took it away, but
I thought Ian was going to say something for sure.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, guys. I'm bookended here by the Bickertons. Big makes me happy. We didn't
fight once.
I know.
Well,
we'll have to do it. We'll have to do it again.
We fought twice.
Yeah. See, he and you know, he's so good at just ending the perfect way, right?
When are you going up to Michael's cottage this summer, Ian? When are you heading up?
To whose cottage?
Michael.
Michael. Yeah. I'm just trying to get a visit to Pierre LeBrun's cottage.
That's what Michael Andlauer you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just want people to know about, you know, the tightness, the buddies.
They're tight. They're tight. They hug it out.
Yeah, that's right. That's
And Ian, I got the background too. You see the Versage stage. It was never called the Versage. Okay. Despite what other people, there's now visual proof. Never called that the Versage. Yorkie, I had to stand on that to be as tall as some of my co-hosts on television at some point, and people got tired of making me or watching me stand on a phone book, so they made me a stage that I could stand on. So I thought you'd like that too.
I love it. Hey guys, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Coming In Hot. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.